Okay, everybody, and welcome back to Chapter 1. Today we're going to be moving on to Section 1.3. Just to do another recap of where we are with our standards, we're still really focusing right here. Section 1.3 is solving equations with variables on both sides. So we're just solving more equations. They're becoming more complicated. So for this section, I'm going to kind of steer away from the explaining my steps a little bit. I think we've done enough of that, and we're really just going to focus really hard on solving linear equations. And again, we're still on linear. We haven't even introduced the absolute value. So 1.3, solving equations with variables on both sides. So for this, I'm going to break it down kind of into 4 steps. Step 1, simplify both sides. And then again, on the end of that, we kind of put a if necessary. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. Step 2, put all variables on one side of the equation. And you can pick. If you have variables on the left and the right, you either want to move them all over to the left or all over to the right, and that will be your choice. Step 3, put all constants on other side. Okay, so variables are what have your x or your y or your z. It's what you're solving for. You're going to put all of those, let's say you decide to put them on the left. That means all of your constants or all of your numbers you're going to try to collect on the other side, which would be the right. And then number 4, solve for the variable. Those are the 4 steps we're going to try to follow. Now let's take a look at what that actually looks like. So example number 1, solve each equation, check your solution. So I'm looking at the left, there's nothing to simplify over here. I'm looking at the right, there's nothing to simplify over here. This has an x, that's just a constant. I can't really put them together. Now, I want all of my variables on one side, all of my numbers on the other. So I already have a variable over here, and I already have a number over here. So really all I have to do is I have to take this variable and move it over to the left with the other one. So this is a positive 3x. We're going to use the inverse operation, and I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So 3x minus 3x, that guy's going to cancel. So over on the right-hand side, I'm just going to have my 10. Now, over on the left-hand side, if you take a negative 2x minus 3x, that's negative 5x. So at this point, I have all of my variables on one side of the equation. I have all of my constants on the other side of the equation. So at this point, we just solve for the variable. So negative 5 times x, the opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 5. I'm going to divide by negative 5. That's going to leave me with x equals 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. And then the last thing I have to do is I have to check my solution. So I'm going to take the negative 2, I'm going to substitute it here, I'm going to substitute it here. So that will give me negative 2 times, I substitute the negative 2, equals 3 times, I substitute the negative 2, plus 10. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, equals 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 10. And then if I kind of finish this, a negative 6 plus 10 is in fact 4. So 4 plus 4, or I'm sorry, 4 equals 4. And we're good. Letter B, getting a little more complicated. So first things first, I have the left side of my equation. I'm going to simplify if I can. I can because this has parentheses, so I'm going to have to use the distributive property. Now, we are going to distribute a 1/2. I'm first going to distribute the 1/2 to the 6h. All this is telling me to do, if you're multiplying by a half, is it's telling you cut things in half. So 1/2 times 6, half of 6 is 3. So this is going to make 3h minus 1/2 times 4. And again, it's just telling you cut it in half. So half of 4 would be 2. And then this side has been dealt with for now. Equals negative 5h plus 1. I can't simplify, so I'm just going to bring it down. Now, at this point, this has been simplified, this has been simplified. So I need all my variables on one side, all of my numbers on the other. Now, at this point, you can choose. There's a variable and a number. There's a variable and a number. So you can choose which side you want things to be on. But I usually try to keep my variables positive. It's just what I like to do. You don't have to do it, but it's what I like to do. So the 3h is positive, so I want to keep him here. The negative 5h is not positive, so the way I would get him positive is I would add him to the other side. So I'm going to choose to bring my variables over to the left. So opposite of negative 5h is positive 5h, and I'm going to bring them both over to the left. I'm going to put my equal sign. This guy's going to cancel, which is just going to leave me with my 1. Over here, I'm going to have 5h plus 3h, which is 8h, and I still have my minus 2. Now I have all of my variables on the left, which means I need to put all of my numbers on the right. So a minus 2, the opposite of minus is plus. So I'll get rid of that. I'll put my equal sign. Over on the left, I just bring down my 8h. Over on the right, 1 plus 2 is going to give me 3. Then I simplified both sides. I got all my variables on one side. I got all my numbers on the other. So last step, solve for the variable. 8 times h, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 8. Which is going to leave me with h equals, if I take a look at 3h, that's, or 3/8, that is a fraction. It cannot be simplified. So honestly, the answer I'm going to prefer here is just 3/8 and leave it like so. For the sake of time, I'm not going to check our answer. I will leave you to do that, but I'm going to move on to example C. Okay, now looking at example C, we're going to simplify the left side of the equation. Now, who's looking at that negative 3/4 going, oh my heaven, oh my heaven. Okay, now we can do this. What this means is you're going to multiply by 3, you're going to divide by 4. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to show you another trick. Okay, really what we're trying to do here is take negative 3/4 times 8n. So, everybody, you're going to go to Google. Once you're in Google, you're going to go to Desmos.com. Okay, look at that up there. That's exactly where you're going to go. You're going to hit enter. This is your online calculator if you're working from home. If we're in the classroom, we have other options, but most of you aren't going to have a great calculator at home, so this is your fantastic calculator. Up here at Math Tools, right now, I just need a scientific calculator. Now, we were trying to take negative 3/4 times 8n. So, first of all, negative 3 divided by 4. Out to the side, times 8. You don't need the n, okay? In fact, I don't think this guy's even going to put an n in there for you. So we're just taking negative 3/4 times 8. Enter is your blue button down here, and look at that. It comes out nicely. It's negative 6. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to say fantastic. So if I take negative 3/4 times 8n, I'm getting negative 6, and now you can put your n back on there. We're going to do this again, negative 3/4 times 12. Okay, that's what we're doing. So I'm going to switch screens. Negative 3 divided by 4. Notice it gives you that nice negative 3/4. Out to the side, times 12. Blue button is your enter, negative 9. Back to my other screen. So I know that when I take negative 3/4 times 12, I'm going to get negative 9. Look how nicely that worked. Equals. On the other side, I also have to simplify because I have a 3. So we're going to distribute this one. Please don't use your calculator. 3 times n, 3n. 3 times minus 3, negative 9. Okay? Now, at this point, we've been simplified on the left, we've been simplified on the right. So now I want to get all my variables to one side, all of my numbers to the other. Do you guys remember that conversation we just had about trying to keep your variables positive? 3n is positive on the right. So I personally want to keep him here. So I'm going to bring the negative 6n. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 6n. That way my n's remain positive. Drop your equal sign straight down. The only thing we have left over here is our negative 9. 6n plus 3n, 9n, and then drop down your minus 9. We got all of our variables over here on the right. Now we have to get all of our constants over here on the left. The opposite of minus 9 is add 9. I'm going to drop down my equal sign. Those two are going to cancel. The only thing I have left over here is my 9n. Negative 9 plus 9, 0. Now I have all of my numbers on the left. I have all of my variables on the right. So we solve for the variable. 9 times n. The opposite of times is divide. 9's will cancel. I'll be left with my n. Be careful here. 0 divided by 9, 0 divided by any number other than 0, but we'll get into that conversation later. So 0 divided by 9 is going to give us 0, and that's our solution. Again, I will leave you to substitute that back in. Make sure it works out.